Our next speaker is running for the County Commission District 5 up in Madison County. He is also the chair of the Madison County affiliate. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And he is going to give a nice talk about the Alan Barksdale plan, which he is the author of. Please welcome up to the stage, Mr. Ollie Rhys.
I'll have to raise this slightly, 1 second. All right, so I'm going to do a couple things differently from the last two speakers. It'll give you just like, 30 seconds. First off, I have been doing a lot of things today, and my back really hurts, so I'm going to get a chair. And secondly, my loyal projector minion is going to focus our projector for our talk here. When that gets done, and we'll go through that. So, that's my eyes. So, to start from the top. Let's flash back to May of 2022. So, for people who weren't involved then, we were doing a statewide drive for ballot access. This would get us ballot access for every race in Alabama, including the president. Well, there wasn't a president that year, being it's a midterm. And we had a lot of good candidates. Elijah was one of them. I think we had 60-something. I think 63 or 4 or 5. There were a few that got thrown out because they didn't qualify properly for the Secretary of State. But then beside, we had quite a lot of people. One of these people was, of course, Alan Barksdale, who has been Secretary of the Madison County, Secretary of the Madison County affiliate for, I guess, 8 years since its first inception in very late 2015, and has remained as such and is continuing that capacity. He decided to run for sheriff, which was very funny. For anyone who knows Alan, he's a very bookish man. I believe he is a very long-time member of his local Sherlock Holmes fan club, for example. He's not the person you would imagine when you hear Alabama sheriff, which led to part of its appeal. He, of course, ran entirely in a paper capacity because, he wasn't super interested in doing an active campaign. More than fair for all of his goals there. Let me pull out my phone because I got some talking points I want to hit before I forget them. Now then, yes, of course. So he runs for sheriff. In Alabama, ballot access is controlled weirdly. My father mentioned that briefly, and if we will tab, this is not quite as bright as I would have liked, but if we'll tab over one tab to the legal page, there we go. Can't read that very well, I'm going to read that for you. So, effectively, this is Title 17 of the Elections Code 1340. So, an organization of electors which, at the general election for state and county officers, then preceding the next primary, cast more than 20% of the ballot of the vote of any county, is there and declared a political party within the meaning of this chapter, and then repeats for state level stuff. So what that effectively means is that anyone who gets, let me rephrase that, any candidate for a countywide office, when they are qualified as a libertarian, if they were to receive higher than 20%, that Libertarian Party in that county is then declared a political party, which, for all intents and purposes, is a major party for any other state. We don't have minor party status here. It's a little bit complicated, but that's neither here nor there. So, when Alan ran, Alan got, I believe it's somewhere around 23-24%. That means we were a major party, as my father previously stated. But there's something else that was really interesting. If we'll tab over to the next tab here, it should be the election results. There we go. All right. That's not great, but you can see the gold in the red, and that's what's important. The sheriff is a two-way race. In all of those little gold counties, which you can kind of see through the black screen, which isn't that great, my apologies, those are counties that Alan won outright. He won them. He got above 50% in every one of those precincts, actually. Every single precinct in that, Alan got above 50%, period. He won them outright. He was a two-way, but he won. So he was a majority person in, I think it was at least a dozen counties, or precincts, damn it. And in all of those are the Democratic strongholds in Madison County. That's where District 6 is, which is the sole Democratic commissioner woman, soon to be perhaps elected out for one of our own Madison County Libertarians, but we will see on that one. And proceeding forth, let's see here, what's my next topic here? Right, so after after we saw this turnout, after we saw that he got above 23%, we then proceeded forth with declaring us as a political party. This was something that hasn't been done. A minor party or an entity seeking political party status, I think it's officially defined, hasn't become a political party in effectively the entire history of what this version, the previous slide you saw, version of Alabama Code, which was adopted in 1971. Since that period, no political party has been made, has been created. So this was all new territory. The then executive director, coincidentally also my father, declared Madison County a major party, or a political party, for the purposes of 1713-40 as priorly shown. This essentially means that we, the LPMCA, have access to a few very interesting things which we normally wouldn't have access to as a minor party. Primarily, primaries. Otherwise, we have to do the convention nominating process. We are allowed to still do the convention nominating process as a major party, but we can also do primaries. That gives us a kind of keyhole into actually figuring out who considers themselves a libertarian. In this state, we don't have party registration. Our primaries are technically semi-closed, but effectively open for what most people understand open and closed primaries are. Meaning anyone, whether they're registered as, say, a Republican or a Democrat, can vote in either Republican or Democrat primaries. And also now a Libertarian primary, which is the big deal. With primaries, when we have a primary and we get a list of everyone who votes in the Libertarian primary, their names, their legal voting addresses, their precinct, and their voting location, polling location. We get all that information. A political party, this is something that Good Anson Knowles has taught me, a political party is only as good as its list. If we don't have a good list saying this is where you can send information to, these are people who can ask for donations, these are people we can get to come to events, to run for office, to run for internal office, like chair, vice chair. We don't have a political party. We need that list. And this, a primary system, is the only way in Alabama, without asking people very nicely for their information, to get that list. And so I think, John mentioned earlier, this, I think, could be our beachhead in. Unfortunately, it's the primary system, which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite way to get into politics. I prefer if every political party paid for it on its own dime, but it is what it is, and this is the system we live in. And unfortunately, well, we have to do primaries, but very fortunately we get a list, and lists are very important. Proceeding forth, let's see here. Yeah, so, after we got our ballot access, we came up with a plan. Well, first we had an idea, then we came up with a plan. The idea was basically, if it's by county, what can we do by county? And the answer is, we can do a lot by county. We can do almost everything we can do at state by county, easier, cheaper, and more effectively because it's local. So this spawned County Slam, comma, the Allen Barksdale plan. My brainchild, supported by both Anson and my father. My father did most of the data analysis, and Anson did a lot of the appendices and legal research he was more familiar with the election code. Now, unfortunately, again, the screen's not great, but we can kind of see here a table, and this table lays out the number of counties, population of the counties, population who voted in that county, is just a raw number, not of registered voters. The votes in the governor election, 3% of the governor turnout, which is important because that's the signature count we need to get ballot access. In Alabama, we need 3% of the governor turnout in any precinct or, larger Whiteout County to get ballot access. And then highest LP vote percentage, way over there on the, my right end, I suppose, your left. Right, over around.
All right.
Stage left, stage right, and all that. All right, and so what that means is there are a number of counties, all these counties, Bullock, Dallas, Greene, Jefferson, Lowndes, Macon, Madison, Mobile, Montgomery, Perry, Russell, and Sumter, where we got above 20% in something that covered the entire county. Now, there was great discussion and debate within the party and with some legal experts as to what counts as 20% for the purposes of countywide ballot access. The conclusion that probate judges have, from my understanding, is to get a countywide, to become a countywide political party, a major party, we need to have 20% in a countywide office. So a statewide office, like I think most of these was lieutenant governor, Ruth Paige Nelson's race for lieutenant governor. We got above 20% in a lot of these counties. That didn't count to them because we didn't get it in a countywide election, which I don't think is correct, but that's a long story on legalese and lawyer speak, which I don't really have time for, and I don't think any of you particularly care about either, which I wouldn't blame you. Legalese is a complicated subject there. So, all right. We did get, of course, major party status in one county, Madison, and that leads us back to what can we do as a major party? I mentioned primaries, of course, but there's another very important part of it. This basically lets us be seen as a legitimate political competitor in the arena of politics. If we are not a major party, then most people are not going to vote for us. Unfortunately, if people don't vote for us, we can't become a major party. It's a chicken and the egg situation. This is just by happenstance, by effectively raw luck. Allen ran for a race that was otherwise unopposed with a large proportion of disgruntled voters who weren't going to vote Republican and didn't have a Democrat in the race, so voted for him instead. We cracked the chicken and the egg problem, and we came out on top with the ability to run candidates. In total, I'm going to tab over the next slide. In total, Madison County is currently running that entire list of candidates. I think it's 11 in total. We have 2 for chairman, 2 for County Commission District 1, 1 for each of the following county districts, and then 2 for probate judge. We almost have a full slate there. What we're only missing is District 3 for County Commission, which was
10 total.
It was 10 total, yeah. So unfortunately, our District 3 County Commission candidate had to drop out due to redistricting, because unlike the other parties, we actually don't let candidates run outside their district. Funny that. But yes, and so basically we have 10 candidates who are running for office who don't need to do ballot access, who don't need to spend often thousands of man hours getting ballot access signature petitions, don't need to spend money to do that, and are able to start campaigning earlier because they're running in the primary. All these candidates are going to be running in the primary. Now those who don't have 2 names in the slot are not running the primary, but are already nominated and accepted as members of the party who are running. But all the same, they can start campaigning earlier under Alabama law. That's really important, because for most of the time, when we have a race in Alabama and there's 3 parties, Democrat, Republican, and Libertarian, Libertarians can't start campaigning until November, because for the vast majority of offices, unless you're doing federal race like congressman or senator, you can't start campaigning until a month out, or a year out, right? And if you're running the primary, then your year out is the March the previous year, or the May, depending on the electoral cycle, not the November. And that's really important, because for a long period of time, you just see Republicans and Democrats, and then eventually, after seeing all these signs for months on months, you start seeing Libertarian signs. It's, it's just like an afterthought, which for a lot of people we are, but we're not going to do that for much longer, I suspect. This is the method forward. So, County Slam the Allen Barksdale plan, to go over it very briefly, is the idea that if we focus on county affiliates, if we make county affiliates, and nudge, and we choose offices that people can run for that are countywide to get major party status, we have access to every single race in there. And that will very slowly build us a list. It'll build us clout, to use the terms of our day. It'll build us a voter base who actually are interested in what we have to say. It'll build people who are not just voting Libertarian because they're disgruntled, or they're one of the already small minority who are truly Libertarians. Unfortunately, I think a lot of Libertarians have this idea that we can become some sort of major competitor by just standing in the corner and yelling really loudly. As much as that would be nice to have happen, it's not going to work. It never has worked. Even when other political parties have risen, it's either from the ashes of another political party, like the Republicans did back in the 1800s, or as a 1 or 2 off party who doesn't go anywhere. The Reform Party, the Bull Moose Party, I guess the Progressive Party to a degree, Farmer Labor Party, definitely. And Libertarians are in this weird spot where we have been the 3rd largest for half a century at this point, and we're still kind of stuck in this rut of yelling really loudly in the corner. And I think part of the reason why I wanted to come up and talk, although unfortunately it's not as polished as I would have liked, I don't have enough time today, as you can probably tell, is that we have a path forward. We have a path forward. It's not that hard. We can go through this full paper. It's, I think, 11 or 12 pages, so I'm not going to, but I highly suggest everyone read this. It's published on the Discord, and I think also the website, and I have copies up to maybe if you want one. It basically lays out what you have to do in your county to get major party status and to run candidates. And it's really, again, it's really not that hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes a little bit of brain power, but the daunting challenge that it once was, where do I go, what do I do? You're swimming in a giant sea. and you're the size of a fish, and you don't know where you're going. But I think with this plan, with what we've discovered through Alan Barksdale's previous race, and with what we have discovered through the 2022 cycle, is that the way forward is simply not that hard to find. We have found it, and now I think everyone else should try to do their best to follow it. You know, I can keep rambling, but does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, I saw a little hand go up there.
Yeah, what's this other party? The We the People Party?
Oh, well, there's the People Party, and then there's no labels. Which one?
Either of those. They're running the ballot access statewide.
Right.
Cycle.
Which is going to end very poorly for them because they can't do shit with it. As we learned, they can run president once, they can run state stuff once, and they're not going to get above 20% for state, so it's going to be mute. And they're going to have to spend thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, to get their name on a ballot once, and then to fall into obscurity like every other major, well, I shouldn't say major, but every other, sparked political party that's existed. I saw a question over there as well. Yes, Patrick.
So I was going to ask you, we're going to see our Libertarian presidential candidates tomorrow, and some of them tonight. And I was going to ask, here in Alabama, will they have an L next to them in November?
So not in all of that. So that, the best answer, right, the most correct answer I can give you is it depends. There is varying opinions on that. I think, so again, to circle back just a little bit, no one knows how the hell this works. The probate judge doesn't, the Secretary of State doesn't, we don't, the candidates don't. Whoever wrote this law is dead. So we don't really know how this works, we're just kind of playing as we go along. And I think there's definitely a very solid case to be made that the Libertarian, National Libertarian Party presidential candidate should appear as a Libertarian on the ballot. So the hang up there, in my expectation, will be if we are able to get him on, or no, get him, I don't think we have any women running, as a independent for the state level, will there be two names on the ballot? And more importantly, which one will take precedence? So if we weren't able to get independent presidential candidate status for the LP nominee, which I think would be a bad idea, we almost certainly would be able to have the L on there for the county, but because of the way Alabama is structured, where it's very top-down, the state has almost all control over the counties, and to get things like, you may probably all know this already, but to get things like mosquito control vans for Marengo County, you need a statewide constitutional amendment, right? And so the way I expect it will be structured is there'll be kind of a debate between can it be the independent can it be the Libertarian as an independent, or can it be a Libertarian as an ally, which will take precedence? And I don't know that answer. No one does. We have to argue it probably not in court, but in front of a probate judge and maybe the Secretary of State, and we'll figure out how it goes. I hope so. That's my best answer. Yes.
Given that it's possible that there would be a conflict between the National Libertarian presidential candidate being listed as a Libertarian in Madison County, while simultaneously being listed as an independent, I could totally see that the law would restrict a single individual from running for two parties. In that case, I would imagine the logical result would be that whoever becomes the national presidential candidate would then run as an independent, even in Madison County. Doesn't that mean that the Libertarian Party of Madison County could nominate someone to run for president and be on that ballot?
So,
how would you interpret that?
No, we can't nominate them because we have already opted into a primary system. And unfortunately, well, I guess we could, no, we can't. So we're already running primary candidates, obviously, for our county offices. Very exciting. And that means we cannot just nominate people outright. Now, if we were, unfortunately the ship has sailed, although it would have been very funny to nominate or put on someone for president on our nominating paper to submit to the probate judge. We didn't.
Because that deadline's gone.
Yeah, that deadline's all passed. In fact, somewhere on there, on our website, is a picture of me reviewing the ballots that's going to be used come, was it March 4th or 5th or something like that, Super Tuesday. And And so those are already printed, those are already sailed. So, you know, again, I don't know which will take precedence, state or county. I would presume it's state because it's just how the state works usually, but I don't know for sure. It would be very funny. I'm looking forward to, you know, arguing with the probate judge and saying we should be able to. But again, I don't know for sure. Now, anyone else? Okay, another question. I'm more than willing to take questions. Let's keep this going. You know, we got.
All right, the no labels party.
Okay, no labels. Yes, sir.
Do you consider it a genuine, like movement, or
Well,
is it some counter-libertarian movement from the things that we've got going on these days?
Well, if you don't mind me taking a digression into how politics in America works, briefly. So, politics, because of the way America is just structured from the ground up, leads to a two-party system. It's unfortunate, but it's been like that for effectively forever. Very briefly, early on in the American Republic, you know, George Washington was the only independent president. But a party system evolved very quickly after that between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, or then Democratic Republicans. How ironic that name is, right? The first Libertarian Party is called the Democratic Republicans, but you know, how times change. Every once in a while, and we saw this back with Theodore Roosevelt with the Bull Moose Party, there will be and Ross Perot is a more recent example that more people in living memory will remember. There will be a third party movement that kind of just rises from the grassroots or sparks through a fire and just kind of shows up. Those do not live very long. It's kind of an open question as to which one no labels is. It seems to be a genuine centrist movement, which is a little strange because America has always kind of tended to where the grass, it's weird because we're opposite to this in most other countries, like Europe, for example, where in Europe, the fiery people will be the people in parliament and the rank and file voting population will be much more moderate. In America, it's always kind of been reversed, right? The people who are in power, Democrats and Republicans, are very centrist compared to their voter bases. No labels seems to be kind of the appearance of a genuine centrist party catering to the middle interests. Unfortunately for us, the middle interests are, we will only increase taxes half as much as the Democrats want us to, and we will only end half as many wars as the Republicans want us to, and we will only cut, you know, we will only reduce the rate at which inflation is growing by half as much as the Republicans want us to, and we'll only legalize half the drugs the Democrats want us to, which is basically no drugs, I'll have you know. And it's similar with the People's Party. You know, the People's Party is kind of a populist party, and populist is a dirty word, and not for entirely undue reason, but it really just means, when you boil it down, a grassroots party. But unfortunately, a lot of Americans these days, their kind of grassroots populist values is uncomfortably similar to authoritarian strongman from, say, I don't know, pick your despotic African country, or South American, or Southeast Asian, or any number of various despotacies that are around the world. You know, they don't have much power. I'm not worried about them. I suspect, to circle back, I suspect no labels won't last that long in terms of as a political movement. They don't have any core values. Their values are, we don't want to pick sides, we're just going to sit in the middle. And those usually don't last very long. Even Bull Moose and the Reform Party with Ross Perot have more kind of core values than new labels, at least in my opinion, you know, just one guy. So, any other questions here? No more questions. All right, well, thank you all very much. I apologize for my rambling, you know, not a whole lot prepared. We set up this whole stage today and all that, and I was kind of tired. But I hope everyone enjoyed. And again, the Alan Barksdale plan. Read it. I have copies. Please read it. It's good. You will like it. And if you don't like it, I will make you like it. And now for our intrepid chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Rhys. And yes, everyone read it. I've read it multiple times already, and we really need to get going on the county affiliates.